iconic rivalry between TVS Apache and Bajaj Pulsar, it remains timeless to this day. So the last time we pitched two modern-day Apaches against two new-age Pulsars, the Pulsar N160, it came out winning. But this is the thing about a civil war, no? New and strong contenders keep popping up from nowhere. And the wheel of power, it keeps on turning. So the Pulsar N160 might be the king of the segment right now, but it faces a new challenger, which is now reborn in an all-new avatar, the Xtreme 160R 4V. And since this is sort of a civil war, it wouldn't be wrong if we say that this is Jaipur versus Pune. This is Anand Pandey, you're watching BBC Top Game Mag India, and if you're confused between these two motorcycles, I'll suggest that you watch this video till the end, because we have all the right answers for you. And the confusion, it is only going to get worse if you wish to include any of these mean-looking street fighters in your garage based on their looks alone. Because just look at them, they both look downright sexy. But it is the Xtreme 160R which looks a lot louder as compared to the Pulsar N160. Now, according to my colleague Abhinav, the Xtreme 160R, it is that funky college kid which just screams for attention wherever he goes. And the N160, it likes to fly under the radar, but it still performs really well. Now, Hero has slightly tweaked the aesthetics of the Xtreme 160R in its 4V configuration. So the smoked treatment inside the headlamp unit, it is a new addition to the Xtreme 160R. Also, particularly on the Pro variant, the headlamp cluster, it sits a little lower as compared to the standard variants. And if you complement that with the gold finish KYB UST forks, they both work in contrast to provide the Xtreme 160R with a slightly hunkered down stance which looks downright mean. Now, that being said, I believe that Hero is still trying to find its way when it comes to designing the rear ends of their motorcycles. Because when it comes to the Xtreme 160R 4V, the pillion seat, it looks a little too bulbous and sort of disproportionate. And when you come to look at the smoke treatment of the tail lamp setup, it is a little too aftermarket-y for my liking. So the Hero designers, they should probably get a copy of the Playboy magazine if they wish to get inspired while designing the rear ends of their motorcycles. You get it? Get the reference? Now, jumping on to the Pulsar N160, it follows a rather stealthy approach. Although I like the Caribbean blue shade that this particular N160 is draped in, and if you are indeed going to buy the N160, take my word and go for the Brooklyn black colorway, because that accentuates the Pulsar N160's stealthiness really well. When it comes to the rear three quarters of both the motorcycles, it is a Pulsar which looks a lot more proportionate than the Xtreme 160R. However, the Xtreme 160R, it looks a lot more premium and louder than the Pulsar N160. So if I had to make a choice between these motorcycles based on their looks alone, I think I would place my bet on the Xtreme 160R. Another area where the Pulsar takes another step ahead of the Xtreme 160R is the instrument cluster. Now, both these motorcycles present here, they both lose out on Bluetooth connectivity. Although you can get Bluetooth connectivity features on the mid-spec variant of the Xtreme 160R, which is the connected variant, but Bluetooth connected features are not available on the Pro variant, but it does get KYB USD, golden forks, and I'm ready to make that compromise. So the Pulsar N160 makes do with a semi-digital instrument cluster, which is more legible to read under bright sunlight as opposed to the negative full LCD instrument cluster that we find on the Xtreme 160R. The same applies to the updated switchgear too, because even in that department, the Xtreme 160R, it feels a little more special as compared to the Pulsar. But it is the Pulsar N160 which takes a leap ahead when it comes to the illumination on offer, because it gets a LED projector headlamp unit up front as opposed to full LED headlamp unit that we find on the Xtreme 160R. Now, I really don't mean to say that the illumination of the Xtreme 160R is really bad, but it is definitely not up to the mark when you bring the N160 into the picture. Now, despite sharing almost similar specifications and approach towards motorcycling in general, it is surprising how different both these motorcycles feel once you mount on them. And majorly you have to blame the Pulsar for it, because it gets a clubman style handlebar which is tilted slightly away from the rider, so you sit slightly more aggressively as compared to the Xtreme 160R, and even the positioning of the foot pegs is slightly more rear set as you compare it to the Xtreme 160R. However, if you are someone who likes to have wind in your hair, then you would prefer the Xtreme 160R's upright riding stance. And this is how you sit on the Xtreme 160R. It is definitely a more comfortable approach as compared to the Pulsar N160, and it would be better suited for you if you wish to have those long highway hauls with your steed. Another major factor which contributes a lot to the engaging ride experience of the Pulsar N160 is that exhaust note. Now let's jump on to the Xtreme 160R and listen to how it sounds like. Now do let us know in the comment section below that which of these motorcycles sounds better according to you. In terms of outright performance on offer, it is the Xtreme 160R which takes a lead ahead, with its 4-valve configuration and more power on tap. Now to give you the exact figures, it is powered by a 163cc single-cylinder 4-valve engine, which puts down 16.9 PS at 8,500 RPM and 14.6 Nm at 6,500 RPM. The performance figures of the Xtreme 160R might be respectable, but this sit a little too close to the Pulsar N160s because it is also powered by a 164.2cc single-cylinder engine but with a 2-valve head. So, it puts down 16 PS at 8,750 RPM and 14.6 Nm at 6,500 RPM. Now what also helps in the Xtreme 160R's cause is a lower curve weight, because the Pro variant that you see here, it tips the scale at around 145 kilograms, while the Pulsar N160 it is slightly heftier because it tips the scale at 154 kilograms.
The Xtreme 160R is also claimed to be the fastest motorcycle in its class to clock 0 to 60 kilometers per hour, and I believe the numbers. The addition of 2 more valves has some other added benefits too. Take for instance more refinement and better engine behavior in the higher revs. It might be more refined than before, but the problem is the N160 is in a different league altogether. The Xtreme 160R might have a better top-end surge than the N160, but it is the latter which feels more calm up there, albeit a little out of juice. The Xtreme 160R might have a better top-end surge as compared to the N160, but it is the latter which feels more calm up there, albeit a little out of juice. In terms of tractability, both the motorcycles don't have any problem chugging in 5th gear at speeds as low as 30 to 35 km per hour. But the character of N160's engine and the refinement helps it lunge a little ahead of the Xtreme 160R. What also aids N160 in fighting the urban elements is its super smooth and slick gearbox. To provide lubrication inside the transmission, I believe Bajaj engineers accidentally used butter. Hero's engineers struck with grease, but bad one, because the Xtreme 160R's gearbox could have been smoother by a fair margin. The Xtreme 160R 4V's Pro variant is the one here with the most sophisticated, enthusiast-centric suspension setup, as it gets KYB sourced gold finished UHD forks. On the other hand, Bajaj has followed the same basic route with telescopic forks. This could be the prime case that proves that it is all about the tuning, not the mechanical components. One would assume the Xtreme 160R 4V to be the corner carver out of the two, but out in the real world it is actually the most supple. At slow speeds, the suspension setup absorbs bumps beautifully well, and as the motorcycle gains momentum, it stiffens enough to provide confidence. On the other hand, the Pulsar N160, despite getting the more basic componentry, feels more taut around bands and slightly stiffer on bumps. It is not uncomfortable by any means, but if comfort is your priority, the Xtreme 160R 4V would be a better fit. However, if involving ride experience is what you are after, stick with the N160. It is further aided by class-leading braking setup, which is not only potent in its performance but also gets dual-channel ABS. It doesn't mean that the Xtreme 160R's brakes are bad, but it is the N160 which inspires more confidence here.
It was sort of a very hard task deciding the clear winner out of these two motorcycles, because you see, they both excel in their own respective departments. So, if you're on a lookout for one of the best looking 160cc motorcycles, you cannot go wrong with the Xtreme 160R. It also helps Xtreme's case that it has a very peppy engine and enables SE as well. However, when it comes to the overall ride experience, it is still the Pulsar N160 which leads the pack. Its refinement on offer still stands unmatched, and so does the engagement the rider feels while riding the Pulsar. The Pulsar, it might not feel all that special when you consider just the spec sheet, but it is not all about that. For us motorcyclists, it is about the ride, and that is exactly where the Pulsar takes a slight lead ahead of the Xtreme. This is all, folks. This is Anand Pandey from BBC Top Gear Mag India signing off. And do let us know in the comment section below that which motorcycle out of these two would you choose in this particular civil war. And if you still have any questions left regarding these two motorcycles, just hit us up and I'll get back to you with all the right answers. I'll see you around.
TVS and Pulsar has been quite timeless for that era. But with the new launches like Hero Xtreme,
Xtreme 160
but ठीक है ना?
against two new age Pulsars. तेरी गांड